Okay, so future Paul here with a quick disclaimer before we get started. During this interview with Chris Ayers, his microphone kept cutting out, so I did my best to edit around it. Hope you enjoy.
Hey, Hound Dogs, I'm David Hankins,
I'm Paul Hankins. I'm Trevor Hankins.
and you're on the air with Power Squared. Tonight, our guest is Chris Ayers, a artist and the creator of the Daily Zoo. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, guys.
Uh, we,
Happy to be here.
for those who don't know who you are, do you want to tell them something about yourself?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Chris Ayers. I grew up loving to draw, loving animals, dinosaurs, Dr. Seuss, Star Wars. I grew up in Minnesota, and about 25 years ago, I moved out to Los Angeles. That's where I live now, and I work in the film and entertainment industry as a character designer, concept artist, and art director, basically. And then, as far as the Daily Zoo goes, so I've been working for various companies the past 25 years. Both as a freelance capacity, and then also in-house. Most recently for Disney, that's where I'm currently at. And then I also do some of my own personal artwork, and that has kind of led me to creating the Daily Zoo, which has a kind of an interesting origin story. It's a project. It's a personal art project where I've been drawing an animal each year. Or sorry, an animal each day.
The Yearly Zoo.
Yeah, drawing an animal each year. Yeah, right. No, what's so big about that? Yeah, an animal each day, and I started it after being treated for for cancer, leukemia, and after going through the whole treatment process for cancer. Chemotherapy and radiation and a stem cell transplant, I was starting to kind of feel back to normal, physically at least, but mentally and emotionally, I knew that I still needed to do something to help kind of process what had just happened and what I'd gone through in that journey. And for me, it felt like the right thing for me to do was to combine two of my lifelong passions, animals and art, and give myself the goal of drawing an animal each day for a year. And it was very therapeutic, very fun. I hadn't done a whole lot of drawing in the year that I was going through treatment and recovering from cancer. So I was kind of chomping at the bit a little bit to get back to drawing more. And so I gave myself the goal. I called it the Daily Zoo, and it was just a personal project. It was me in a sketchbook, basically. And then fast forward a couple of years, and I had a chance to publish the first volume of the Daily Zoo through local LA publisher Design Studio Press. And then I've had more books come out since then, and I've kept doing the Daily Zoo. I've kept doing the daily drawing, and I'm in year 20 now. Today's day 7,000 and something.
Wow.
What did you draw today?
I haven't drawn it yet today,
okay.
if you guys have any requests, let me know. Before the end of the interview.
Yeah, we may. When did you discover that groovy magic wand made of wood called a pencil and decide you wanted to be an artist?
You've been reading my website. Really early on. I mean, I think I can't remember not drawing and not enjoying that process. And I think for me, and I think this is probably true for a lot of artists, especially in those kind of younger formative years, you maybe like to draw. Hey, what's this thing? Oh, I can create something out of my head, and then and that may be a fun process. Sometimes it's frustrating, but more often it's fun. And then the more you do it, hopefully the better you get at it. And then you are a little bit more successful in translating those images in your head, putting them down on paper. And then the better you get, even the more exciting it becomes. And so it's kind of this cyclical process where the more you practice, then your skills increase, and the more your skills increase, it makes that creative experience that much more rewarding, because you're getting closer and closer to being able to express what you're seeing in your head. And so yeah, when I was a kid, I would love to draw uh, animals, my family, friends, drawing them as caricatures, cartoons. I remember reading the Chronicles of Narnia book series, and then I think I still have them somewhere, but just doing sheets of all of the characters, just, from my head. This was before they had the movies out and stuff, and so it was just really taking that written word and using that to kind of fuel my imagination, and then having fun, just kind of getting to create my version of those characters.
What's a typical day like for you?
Um, when I'm, I mean, like right now with working for Disney, as an art director, it usually requires several meetings, sometimes a lot of them. But it's quite varied. But it depending on where we are at in the process. If you start off with like in the beginning, it's more kind of about broader ideas and kind of discussing more blue sky concepts of what is a project going to look like, and what is the tone and the style, um, color palettes, points of reference, all of those things, to kind of think big and start to have discussions with the other creatives on the team, and then eventually we start putting pencil to paper, stylus to Cintiq, and everything, and then start again, kind of trying to cast a wide net and explore a lot of different ideas, and then gradually, as we kind of get into that process, we get a sense for what feels right, what's supporting the story in the kind of most successful manner, and then and we start to get more and more focused, whether it's a design for a particular character or a location, or kind of mood paintings, um, and then that requires often working with a team of artists, and so I'm trying to understand what the director and the executive producers want, and the writers, the producers, all these other people, trying to understand what is the story that they want to tell, and then being able to translate that to the team of artists in kind of visual terms, what kind of colors we want to use, what kind of textures, what kind of shape language, and then working with the artists, and giving them feedback, and having art reviews with the director and executive producers, and then the artists, and we try to kind of arrive at the final look of a design. And then that is kind of rinse and repeat for all the characters, all the, and some of the projects I've worked on have required, hundreds of characters and hundreds of sets, thousands of props, and so it can be a big process. And like in animation, you have to really kind of design everything that you see on screen. Whereas with live action, if it's a contemporary legal drama, for example, and you're set dressing a character's office, and you need some pencil holders and pencils, all right, you go to Office Max or whatever, and you know what a pencil is. But with animation, even if you're not really redesigning the pencil, you still have to create that version of the pencil which resides in your world, in your animated world. So it has to match stylistically to everything else in the world and stuff. And so animation can be kind of a labor-intensive process in that in that regard of just you have to design everything, which is fun too.
It sounds like all the approvals you have to get. It's amazing you get anything done. I guess everybody's got an input.
That was actually what you're saying reminded me. Trevor and I once saw a presentation at CSUN from I believe it was an environment artist from Zootopia, and he talked about how like okay, in the background here, like every single like poster or sign or anything has to get approved. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It certainly probably depends on the project in the studio, but if you're going to be investing that much time and effort and money into a project, you really want to take. It's all kind of time and budget dependent, but if you can add that level of detail to a world is really what makes it special and makes it feel that much more alive. Even if you never get close, if the camera never gets close enough to see that poster in the back of the store, if you have a chance to, if you have an idea and you have a chance to give it something that little extra special, make it something rather than just a square of red and with some green splatter.
Yeah.
Then that can be a nice, fun part of the world building process.
Yeah.
Do you find it easier to draw people or animals?
Both have their challenges and both have their kind of their rewards. One of the reasons that I do love drawing animals so much is because the animal kingdom is so varied. I mean, obviously, humanity is very varied, right? And there's endless possibilities there. But for the most part, all humans have 2 eyes, 1 nose, 2 legs. We're bipedal and stuff, right? Hair grows usually in the same spots, but with the animal kingdom, you have fins and feathers and scales and fur and itty bitty dwarf mice and gigantic blue whales and everything. So just the amount the number of different shapes and textures as well, and colors too. I just find that to be a little bit larger sandbox to play in, and so I do enjoy that. And I mean, the one of the challenges I think with drawing animals is if you really practice hard at drawing dogs, for example, you can get really good. And then, if you're asked or want to draw a chimpanzee or an ostrich, now the anatomical structure and understanding that you have and that you've developed for studying a dog, it doesn't really apply in the same ways to an ostrich or a chimpanzee. I mean, there's a lot of similarities, and the comparative anatomy between species is really pretty cool. But so that can be challenging in another sense, where each animal kind of offers its own unique challenges and opportunities to have fun with the proportions and characteristics that make that animal unique.
You've done a lot of work in character design as well as taught. According to your resume, you began with Bubble Boy in 2001. How did that come about?
That was my very first industry job, was doing some character designs for Bubble Boy, which was, I think, Jake Gyllenhaal's first film or one of his first films. But that was exciting because it was my first job in Hollywood. I had moved out to California, not knowing anybody. I didn't have a job lined up. I packed up my car, my little Toyota Tercel in Minnesota, and drove west and crashed on my friend's couch for a couple of weeks until I found an apartment of my own and got a job at Barnes & Noble in the meantime. And I I bought my way into the industry. Um,
Okay.
I
Everybody's got a different story. So.
everybody has a completely different story. Yeah, it's fun to see how everybody kind of got that first break and that first opportunity. Um, but my friend who I knew from Minnesota, he was out in LA doing the acting thing, and then in the meantime, like I was working at Barnes and Noble until I kind of got my break. He was substitute teaching, and he was substitute teaching at a local high school, and they had a school fundraiser one weekend, and it was in a relatively affluent part of LA, and so this fundraiser was a little bit different from the ones that I was used to back in Minnesota. So they had a silent auction, and the items up for bid were, not just your normal silent auction type of experiences and items, but there was a kind of a Hollywood theme to some of the things up for bid. And one of them was a behind the scenes tour to Academy Award winning makeup and special effects studio Amalgamated Dynamics Incorporated.
Okay.
ADI for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
And I knew about ADI because back again in the Midwest, and this was I moved out in 2000. So in the late 90s and early 2000s, I mean, there just wasn't as much information about working in animation and Hollywood, and especially as like a concept artist. The internet did not have it wasn't what it is today, obviously, and so it was really hard to find information of how do they do these things, how do they make those monsters. And I remember reading issues of Cinefex magazine, and there was a show called Movie Magic on Discovery Channel, I think, on Thursday nights. And so I knew about ADI from those, reading the magazines and seeing the kind of the behind the scenes TV shows and stuff. But so I basically put a bid down for the behind the scenes tour there, and I was I think the only person who put the bid down. But it was the minimum bid was $100, and again, I had just moved out to LA. At that time I didn't have a job yet or an apartment, and so money was tight, and I was a little hesitant, but my friend encouraged me to do that, and so I did, and it was the best $100 I ever spent, because about a month later I went on the tour. My family happened to be out visiting me from Minnesota, my parents and my sister. We all went on the tour, and it was amazing. It was just so cool to see a look at how this stuff is made, and they had some of the bugs from Starship Troopers, and the Tim Allen's fat suit from the Santa Claus 2, or the Santa Claus, and some of the aliens from the Alien franchise. And so it was just really cool. And then we went into the back of the shop and saw these sculptures being made, and the mechanical department where the animatronics were being done. And it was great. And so then the tour wrapped up, and the owner said, "Do you have any other questions?" And I said, "Are you hiring?" and he kind of gave me the polite no. And, we look for people with experience and stuff. And I said, I've got my portfolio in the car. Can I just leave it here? And I think it helped having my parents and my sister with me, because, the owner, he didn't want to just squash the dreams of this kid in front of mom and dad. So he said, "Yeah, okay, sure." I was fully expecting just to leave it at the front desk and, maybe never hear anything again. But to his credit, and this was Tom Woodruff Jr. And Alan Gillis at ADI, the co-owners, they brought me in to the conference room right then, and then they kind of looked through the portfolio, and that was really, unexpected for me. And then a week later is when they called me in to do a couple days worth of work on Bubble Boy, and so again, best $100 I ever spent. It worked out well, and then things just kind of eventually grew from there. That's a very long-winded answer.
No,
but,
it's fine. Um, I was a little surprised to hear that there's a lot of character design for live action films. Um, what what does that work entail? And are you working with the costumer and makeup people, or are you just drawing monsters, or what?
So yeah, it's a great question. Character design definitely can be done for live action as well as animation. It kind of depends on the project, um, and uh, and there is some crossover. Um,
Right.
did I
No,
cut out again?
yeah, you
Oh,
cut out, but you're fine now. Go ahead.
okay, all right. Um, and so it kind of depends on the project and what is required. And so my live action experience has been working for the um, special effects makeup shops and the kind of the monster shops. Um, and a lot of the work did. I mean, yeah, we did aliens and monsters of kind of the traditional sense, but then for like the Santa Claus 2, for example, we were designing the Tooth Fairy and the Easter Bunny and things like that. And so in some of those projects, we would work with the film's costume department and costume designer, kind of in tandem. And so some of the responsibilities of a character may be split between different departments. And so you just have to make sure you're in good communication with everybody and that everybody's kind of on the same page.
When did you start working with animation?
I think in about 2011, maybe. Um, I had worked a little bit maybe before that doing some smaller kind of freelance things, but in 2011, I was hired by DreamWorks to do character design on the Penguins of Madagascar feature film, um, and that was a lot of fun, and I love working in live action and I love working in animation. They both have kind of again unique challenges and opportunities. Um, but my kind of natural style growing up has always been a little bit more cartoony and exaggerated, and my love of caricature kind of played into that as well. And so I think animation, you can usually stretch things a little bit further, push things a little bit further. Depends on the style of the project, but when you're designing for live action, uh, it's usually a little bit more restrained, because if you design a character, that character most likely needs to be believable in this world, unless you're doing something like a Roger Rabbit, where it's cartoons, literal cartoons, versus you know with live action. But yeah, so it was in like around 2011, I think, when I started with DreamWorks, and that was a lot of fun. And my work since then has predominantly been on the animation side of things.
So, of the movies you've worked on, it was like Men in Black 2, Santa Claus 2, a lot of sequels. Austin Powers and Goldmember, Scary Movie 3. Do you have a favorite movie that you worked on?
Um, it, it they're all kind of, they all have unique um, memories to them and everything. But Men in Black 2 was a lot of fun, just because of the subject matter, and again, you get to design aliens,
Yeah.
and that was a lot of fun. And for that project in particular, the director um, was really interested and inspired by sea life, and especially some of the deep sea creatures that have some really crazy looks to them. And so we used a lot of reference material from oceanography and deep sea documentaries and everything. And so that was kind of a unique, fun world to dive into. No pun intended, but and so that was a lot of fun, and also the crew was really great for that. We were working at Rick Baker's Cinovation company, and there was after work we would go to karaoke night, or we'd go skydiving on the weekend, or
Wow.
so it was that project in particular kind of seemed more than just the job, because I made a lot of new friends there as well, and so.
There's been a lot of heated discussion around the use of generative AI, including there's now a character actress, Tilly Norwood. As an artist and a character designer, how do you feel about the technology in creative spaces?
Scared and and a little unsure right now. I mean, it's so new in a lot of ways that we haven't really. We're still in the process, and I say we as terms of like the world in general. I
Yeah.
mean, it's been around for a bit, but how it's being used is still kind of being developed, improved, and tested, and what can it do? This can it do that? And so I think right now it's a little unsettling for a lot of people, because there is the threat that it will take away job opportunities for people, and the animation industry right now is kind of in uh, a drought in some ways, for a variety of different reasons. There is still a lot of animation being done, but I also unfortunately know so many colleagues that are super talented and super experienced that just have been out of work for a couple of years, even. I
Wow.
mean, it's been challenging. So I think that there's possibility there for generative AI to be a creative tool. I don't think, and I sure hope it's not going to be the end all. I
Yeah.
think that if we can, it's probably not going away. And so I think that it's smart for artists, and probably people in general, to become familiar with it, to try and understand it, to play around with it, to use it to see what how it may be able to help in some ways. But I think that as soon as you start letting AI do everything, or the majority of things,
Yeah.
on a particular project, for example, I'm just concerned there that it's it's gonna without that human input, it's the results are not going to. I have a difficult time believing that audiences will really connect with that. I could be wrong. It's all, again, we're in uncharted waters in a lot of ways.
But I think I should say something if when something is like, say, there's a badly written movie, the first thing people say is, "I thought it was written by AI."
Yeah, so I have seen some. The other part about the AI that I do have a problem with is, so for example, like specifically in image generators, we're starting to see that in the last couple of years, is it's being able to, some of these AI models are pretty powerful and pretty amazing at what they can generate from a simple text prompt. And but my problem with that is that those AI models were trained on artwork that was done by people, and those artists were not compensated
Right.
for that.
Yeah,
And
that's a big
so,
issue.
if there's a way, if moving forward, I think if generative AI is going to become a thing, and it's going to be used more and more as a tool to help create images, then I really feel strongly that there needs to be a system set up where the artwork that is created by humans to help train these models, that
Lost you. Yeah. Okay.
those artists.
Oh. Okay. Well, we're very much anti
Yeah.
if I could say that.
I do have when I at Comic-Con and when I do exhibit at other shows, I have a little sign that I put on my table that says 100% free, 100% AI free. You know, just
Yeah. So speaking of the AI free artwork, the Daily Zoo, we have a few questions about that. So the fact that you continue to make daily animal drawings is impressive. How do you stay motivated?
it sometimes it's tough, definitely. The busier my life gets. I started the Daily Zoo before I had my son, before I was married, before I was working full time in animation, and so um, things have just gotten busier. But it's I try to kind of keep an open mind, and this kind of just goes into a general area of like, how where do I get my inspiration? And the short answer is from everywhere and anywhere. I really try to keep my mind and my eyes, my ears, all my senses open, my heart open to the world around me, and because you never know when some experience or something that you'll see, even as just a passing glance, might provide a little spark for a character or for a situation, or for something that you could incorporate into one of your designs or stories, which is really cool. There's I have different tricks sometimes when I to try to avoid kind of that artist block that I use sometimes. But I, Again, with the animal kingdom, it's so vast and varied that there's many species that I know I haven't drawn yet, and so there's always a possibility there for something new.
Speaking of, how often do you learn about new species?
Um, Not as often as I would like. I wish I I wish I had more time to just read every issue of National Geographic that comes to my door, or I've got uh, bookshelves full of books, animal reference books and encyclopedias, and kind of deep dives into various species that I haven't had time to read as much of them as I would like. Um, I should actually try to get back to the advice that one of my art professors in college told me. And he said to the class, he said, one of our kind of our standing assignments for this course is I want you to go to the library at least like once a week and just spend half an hour there. And you don't have to be um, researching anything for class. It's just browse the shelves and pick up a book that's interesting, and then just spend some time looking at that. And it doesn't have to be an art book. It could be a book on science or anthropology or math or costume design or history, and just to be able to kind of let your mind be a sponge and see what you can feed it. I think is really important for any artist and any creative, just to keep feeding that internal creative soup.
What when you learn about a new animal? How much do you like research or study it, or research/study it before you draw it, and how much practice does it usually take?
That's a great question. I Sometimes I'll try to find out a little bit more about it. Sometimes it's just the urge to draw is too great, and so I just dive in. I've got a picture or something. Um, Sometimes with like the new species, there's just not a lot of information available. Like I'll be scrolling through my phone in the news feed, and maybe there's, hey, a new species of frog is discovered in Guatemala or whatever, and if if I'm lucky, then there's maybe a photograph of it, and there'll be a little bit of a description of it, and maybe there's a unique characteristic that they haven't seen in the animal kingdom before, or something like that. That makes this discovery that much more unique. But sometimes these species don't even have official names yet, and so it's you kind of go with what you can grab. And in terms of like if when I draw an animal, um, how much reference material I look at or research about it kind of depends on what is the intention for what am I hoping to achieve with this drawing or this series of drawings. Um, if it's something that is going to be a little stylistically a little bit more realistic or a little bit more detailed, then that's where I like to have more reference material and study, and maybe even do some preliminary drawings, just to kind of familiarize myself with all the details and the proportions and the anatomy of that animal. But if it's more, hey, I just want to draw a cartoon whale, and maybe I don't want to necessarily be hindered or burdened or restrained by a realistic shape of a whale's flipper or something, or where exactly the eyes are compared to the blowhole. And maybe I'll just kind of, I mean, that's one of the fun things about animation is it's more, not more, but it can be about the shape language that you use, and you can really have some fun and just exaggerating and playing with the shapes. And so sometimes I'll just I'll intentionally not look at reference material, maybe just a passing glance or something to kind of get a brief picture in my mind, and then I'll just start playing around sketching. And then as I get into it, if it's like, oh, all right, now I do want to know a little bit more about this particular bird and how large their feet are compared to their body or something, then I'll maybe go and look at some reference material.
I know from experience it's hard to find information about certain like types of like caribou.
Yeah, and that can be. I mean, it's a fun, again. If I have time, I love to dive in and have the freedom to just kind of explore and try to learn something. And you never know when you go down the rabbit hole. You never know where you're going to end up too. So it could be you start researching caribou, and then before you know it, you've discovered how important tiny hedgehog was to an indigenous culture over in this other continent. It's kind of surprising where things can take you.
Yes. From your experience, is there a difference in skill between drawing domestic or exotic animals?
Um, not. I, no, I don't. I don't think so. It's all kind of the same approach as is to kind of understand the animal and like what makes a cat versus what makes a cassowary, and they all kind of have unique um, features and characteristics and behaviors, and so I think yeah, that's a good question. Personally, I tend to like or I gravitate towards drawing maybe more exotic animals a little bit more, um, just because you
Cut out again.
oh,
You're back
sorry.
now. You're
You're
back.
back.
Oh, I'm back. Okay, sorry about that. Um, uh, we're more, most of us are more familiar with the shapes of a cat or a parakeet versus the shapes of a rhinoceros, and so there's something um, I as a kid I grew up and rhinos were very exciting to me and stuff. Cats and dogs and sure household pets, but yes, I think it's fun to definitely draw um, exotic animals, especially sometimes they have shape language that isn't necessarily something as that we're as familiar with as like a dog or a cat.
So when someone buys or presents one of your books at a convention, you like to draw pictures.
I guess you could say we're fans.
Anyway, you like to draw an animal in the book. Is there an animal you get asked to draw the most
Um,
from your
I,
memory?
I'm not sure if there's like a single animal that's the number one, but certainly, you know, the kind of a lot of the charismatic megafauna, the elephants, the tigers, lions, giraffes. I get asked those a lot. I get asked to draw cats and dogs a lot. People sometimes request they'll whip out a picture of their pet on their phone and ask me to draw that. Um, and it's just I do that because one I'm just grateful that somebody's taking an interest in my work and wants to shell out a few bucks to help support me as an artist and buy a book and so I'd like to try to make that experience even a little bit more unique or special for them and then I really enjoy asking them for a request because it saves me the trouble from coming up with what am I going to draw. Right? Oh, you want an echidna? Okay, I'll draw an echidna. But it's fun because I don't know what the next request might be, and it becomes a little fun challenge too. And then also hopefully because it's something that they asked for, it's maybe a little bit more meaningful to them too.
I guess one other question related to the Daily Zoo is, have you ever had the temptation to George Lucas any of your previous drawings, or do you treat it more like a live performance?
Yes. Well, hats off to George for being ever critiquing your work and saying, it could be better, it could be better. I mean, sometimes I'll then there's been instances in the daily zoos where I will draw an animal one day and then for whatever reason it just wasn't it didn't yield the results that I was hoping for, and so on the next day or maybe a couple of days I'll continue visiting that subject matter. It's maybe not like redrawing the same drawing, but it's taking another crack at that that idea, and just kind of exploring like, oh well, maybe if I made the beak a little bit longer or the legs a little bit longer on this one, it gives it a different a feeling, or maybe try drawing it in a different style. But there is some appeal to the idea of revisiting previous drawings and just not to take anything away from that original pass at it, but it's just like, hey, I wonder if I can just tweak it a little bit more and stuff. Now Daily Zoo is not Star Wars, so maybe get away with it, get away with tweaking some things if I chose to do that without upsetting half the planet.
Have you had to repeat an animal ever?
Oh yeah. Like I've drawn many elephants, for example, many rhinos, but whenever I do revisit a similar subject matter, I try to do it a little bit differently. I try to draw it in a different style or a different slant to it. Maybe I've drawn an elephant superhero before, but maybe I haven't drawn an elephant super villain or something. And so there's a lot of room to bring something new to a design, and even though the subject matter may be the same.
All right, so more recent project for you was Monsters at Work.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to ask a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah. That was.
We watched the show as it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, as it came out? All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun to work on. Pixar did such an amazing job with the original films and they created such a wonderful world, and really with some unique characters and unique premises that it was a joy to be able to, and a privilege to be able to kind of work in Monstropolis for I think it was like 6.5, 7 years, I think, that I was working on that project. And I started off as a character designer and then moved into the role of art director midway through production on season 1 as our previous art director moved on to another project. And yeah, I mean, it was drawing monsters, and there's not a lot better than that, in my opinion. So um, it was really fun to be able to um, not only recreate the world for the TV series, but then also to expand the world. And especially in season 2, we got a chance to go outside of Monsters Inc., the factory, quite a bit more. Um, and we had a running joke on the crew that the title should be changed for season 2 at least. Monsters kind of at work. Because so many of the stories just didn't take place at Monsters Inc. and they were extracurricular activities and things like that. But it was a lot of fun to work with.
What new or unique challenges did you encounter when designing monsters for this universe?
Well, there's already kind of an established style that we had to respect, and you want to do that. If you're expanding a world and introducing new characters, new locations to Monstropolis, then it has to feel like it fits within that world and that style. So we paid close attention to that. We really kind of tried to analyze what Pixar had done so successfully in the previous films and stay true to that. And then on season 1, one of my main tasks was working on Tyler Tuskman, one of the main new monsters that we were introducing. So designing Tyler Tuskman was a lot of fun. It was challenging, though. We redesigned him many times. I redesigned him many times. As we were trying to discover what he looked like visually, the writer's room was also trying to determine who this character was story-wise and what his background was. And so we plowed ahead and eventually arose at the final design. And because he was kind of one of the hero characters, and hero characters in general are often more challenging to design because they you usually have less freedom to really exaggerate or push it one direction or another. With a kooky sidekick, you can you can have liberty to kind of stretch it a little bit more, and the same with a really sinister villain. I mean, if you think of like Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader has an obviously very unique push design, and Luke Skywalker, over the course of the films, Luke Skywalker's appearance didn't change that much, his costumes and everything, but there was just a little bit more kind of restraint, and in animation that kind of carries over as well to a similar fashion.
Right. Of the characters I had to design from scratch, which one was the easiest or most difficult to get down?
I think up until now, I think Tyler Tuskman's been one of the most challenging characters to really kind of find the look of that kind of hit all checked off all the boxes, that it fit in the monster style and was an appealing design, um, and but kind of unique, and then some interesting shape language, but then also really supported story. And originally he was going to be a jokester, and that he grew up idolizing Mike Wazowski as a jokester, and not the other way around, where he was built to scare, and he was the top. He graduated as the top of his class from MU, um, from the scaring school. Originally, it was going to be a different direction, and so when we had a design that it was approved and being built and rigged and animated, um, that worked for him, as a jokester, but then when the story changed to now he was always dreamt of being a scarer, and then he arrives at Monsters Inc. and they're no longer hiring scarers because they've now switched to laugh power. Um, that design no longer fit because that design wasn't scary enough, and it wasn't believable, as it was kind of an orange French fry, basically, with big horns. And so you can imagine that that just isn't as imposing as what he ended up being, and much more kind of the broad shoulders, 8 feet tall, big long horns, and much more of a kind of imposing silhouette. And so that was, that whole process was really, it was challenging, but it was a lot of fun, and I learned a lot as well. And during the process of doing that, I remember specifically one day I was on my lunch break and I was reading The Art of Monsters Inc. from the first film, and in the intro, um, there was a quote from Pete Docter, and it was kind of one of those quotes that's, in bigger text, and it's kind of offset, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, this is an excerpt from the rest of the text, and in big letters it says, Pete Docter was saying, he was talking about designing Sully and the process and the challenge that they went through for designing Sully. He said it's almost impossible to design a character when you don't know who that character is. And so that was one of the struggles in the original film, is who is Sully, and what is his role, and what is his character, and how does he fit into the story. And so in some similar ways, we were kind of going through that process with Tyler as well. And once we really kind of solidified that of who he was and who he wanted to be, then it made that final design pass come together pretty quickly. Also, it also had to come together quickly because we were running out of time, and we had to get started. So.
Right. Did you have a favorite character?
Favorite character. Uh, I mean, Tyler Tuscan is near and dear to my heart because that was a really fun way to. I felt like on screen, what you see on screen is there's a lot of my input on that. I mean, with any of these projects, there's so many artists that work on a character or a scene, and from the computer modelers and the texture painters and the animators and the riggers and the lighting artists and everybody. So, but I certainly felt like I had an opportunity to give a lot of input, a lot of creative input, and I certainly put in a lot of hours on him. So it was fun to see him alive and on the screen. So that was fun. The octopus henchman in Penguins of Madagascar. I didn't work on the main octopus character. He wasn't actually in the script while I was on the project. But the octopus henchmen they were a lot of fun to do too. They originally were described as octopus ninjas, and they were going to be. We played around with making them literally ninjas in kind of ninja costumes and everything. That part of the story ended up getting changed, but you can still see in some of their poses they strike some kind of martial arts type poses, which was kind of cool.
So, did working on Monsters at Work teach you anything you could carry into your own art or onto future projects?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that Monsters at Work was my first time working in house in animation production. My previous experiences were more pre production. And so I was involved in seeing the process, the animation process, all the way from the very beginning to the final shots and everything. And then when I became art director, I was involved again across the board and working with multiple different departments and artists and really just getting a chance to learn so much. That was an invaluable experience. And that so that is carried over. My last project after Monsters was another project for Disney. It's a Prep and Landing special that's coming out this Thanksgiving, actually in a couple of weeks here. And so I was art director on that as well, and so I definitely was able to bring a lot of what I had learned on Monsters to the new project. And one of the big things too is just as an art director, learning to work with other artists and kind of manage a team of artists. That was kind of a very valuable experience.
Couple questions. Monsters at Work, to your knowledge, is it considered canon to the movies or?
I don't know. I think I don't know I can't speak officially for Disney.
Fair enough.
You can if you want to. We won't.
Yeah. So I don't know what the plans are. I mean, I think why not? I mean, but we did feature some of the characters from the movies and some of the locations and stuff. And I think in our minds, we were just expanding the Monsters world. Yeah, I don't know. No comment.
Also, quick question while we're still on the subject of animation. It's probably an odd thing to ask, but have you ever been confused for the late voice actor Chris Ayers?
No, not as far as I know. I wasn't familiar with that Chris Ayers. I know there are a bunch of Chris Ayerses out there. So what? He did voice acting?
Yeah, one of his big roles was Frieza in Dragon Ball Z, Kai, and Super.
Okay. Oh, you know what? I have heard. I knew. Yeah. Now that you mentioned Dragon Ball, yeah, I remember. Like on a Google search or something, he came up.
He still does.
So, alright, so I guess moving away.
I think he cut out again.
Yeah. You cut out. Now you're back? No?
Am I back?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm back.
All right.
In my younger days, I got mistaken for Seth Green a couple of times. That hasn't happened recently. So.
Oh, that's good for you.
I guess a couple of wrap-up questions. If you were to go back and relive your artistic career, is there anything you would have done differently?
Ooh, maybe tried to sleep more. But then again, probably not. I don't know. That's kind of a tricky question because like I feel like I've learned a lot, and yeah, it would be wonderful to kind of go back and relive some of those experiences if I could have the knowledge that I have now. But I don't know if time travel works that way and stuff. even with my cancer experience, which led to the Daily Zoo. I can honestly say now that I feel that there's been more positives that have come from that experience than negatives, and partly because the Daily Zoo has happened, and I've been fortunate to go into remission and have good health in the years since. But it, I just view life, whether it's my artistic career or day to day life or all the experiences that happen to me, with an open mind. And I mean, things are going to happen, obstacles are going to happen, and things are not going to always turn out the way you hoped. But I really believe that there can be something positive or something good to come from those experiences as well. It's something, maybe it's just learning something um, that can then influence your path forward, and specifically in art, certainly, but then in just kind of in life in general. So there's not, I try not to live life with the mindset of having regrets, and it's more about just trying to show up and be the best version of myself, whether it's as an artist, an art director, as a husband, a father, a friend, um, as I can, and try to do the best that I can with what I've got on any given day. And some days I don't have a lot, and but you just try to do the best you can, I guess.
Is there any advice that you'd give to a prospective artist?
Now's when I wish my microphone would cut out.
It still might. Yeah.
Yeah, it probably will. Um, well, I- you know, I, I guess work hard, play hard, draw hard, have fun. I mean, find the things that you're passionate about, and and really pursue those with a lot of intensity, and um, and you may not know what you're passionate about. You may think, hey, I'd love to do art, but I don't know what kind of art. Do I want to do comic books, or do I want to do illustration, or do I want to be a fine artist in a gallery somewhere? Do I want to work in animation as a character designer or a storyboard artist? I mean, there's so many different opportunities. So try them all. Try whatever. If you're interested in something, give it a shot. Try it, research it a little bit. Uh, learn about it, and see if that's something that you want to pursue. Practice, practice, practice. You can never have too much practice, and just there's so much talking specifically about a visual artist, I guess. There's so much to be learned from actual drawing. And I'm old school, but I still believe that is one of the most important skills for creative, is being able to communicate your ideas visually, and that starts with being able to draw and put pencil on paper and stuff. And there's a great quote by like a French artist or philosopher, and I'm sorry I don't remember his name, but to paraphrase it, he said that the best way to know something is to draw it, and I couldn't agree more. It's if you really want to understand an airplane, draw it. Learn by drawing it, not just looking at something. There's that process of drawing it that you know our mind has greater retention if we put pencil to paper, and so you really kind of know. All right, you have to look at the plane and see what kind of shapes that the engines are, and where the wings attach, and how many windows are there, and where the rivets are, and all of that stuff. If you not only look at it, but then translate it and have to copy it through drawing, that's a great way to really to understand something. So in terms of an artist learning anatomy, for example, don't just read anatomy books and go to life drawing classes and study photographs and read about it, but actually, yeah, put put in the time and work on those drawing skills, and I think that will serve you well, even if you don't become an artist, you know, for your day job or whatever. I think that it can really help inform you as a creative thinker.
Right, we've met you at Comic-Con several times. So I guess one question is, do you do a lot of conventions?
Yeah, I do the San Diego Comic-Con. I've been doing that one for, I think, about 15 years, minus the few years that it was shut down for COVID, of course. Yeah. I try to do about six or eight shows a year. Art fairs, comic conventions, book festivals, kind of a variety of different places. And it's just a great way to interact with people and introduce the story, introduce my work to them. And then it's really fun to, I enjoy when you guys stop by the booth every year. It's good to kind of catch up with you guys. But you start to see some familiar faces. And it's really also interesting to hear, meet people and hear their stories as well. With the Daily Zoo especially, it's wacky cartoon flamingos and tigers and everything, but then at its core, the reason behind doing it is this journey of facing cancer and using art as a healing tool, and what I discovered along the way. And I enjoy sharing that story with people, and then sometimes people will share their stories and their experiences, either with cancer, or they're an artist too, and maybe they've struggled with this, or they're excited about this. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this animal? And so there's a way, that experience of that interaction, face-to-face interaction with people, is one of the things I really enjoy about the shows.
When we've seen you, your mom has been your booth mate.
Yep.
Yeah. How is she doing?
She's doing great. She's 80 to 25. She's 83 this year, and loves going to Comic-Con. I think people enjoy. I think people enjoy coming by the booth to see her more than they do to see me.
Well, say hi to her for us.
Yeah, thank you. That tradition started when my wife was pregnant with my son. My wife didn't come down to Comic-Con to help me run the booth, and then so Grandma and Grandpa.
I cut out.
You cut out.
Oh.
There you go.
Oh, okay. So yeah, the tradition started when my wife was pregnant, and I needed some help running the booth. My wife stayed back in LA. She was kind of on bed rest, and then my mom came out to help run the booth, and my dad came out to help my wife up in LA and stuff. So, and we've kept up the tradition ever since.
That's cool. We ask all of our guests, have you read Power Squared, or I guess The Blade of Miracles, which is the books that we do?
I apologize, I have not.
That's okay.
Not yet.
We'll send you some.
All right,
as a parting gift for being, for
being on the show. I did listen to your
cut out.
Oh,
you're back.
I did listen.
You're back.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
I did listen to the podcast where you reviewed Doctor Who, and that was great, because I grew up with Doctor Who, and especially Tom Baker and the Fourth Doctor,
Yeah.
and right now I'm introducing it to my 12-year-old son, and so we're just at the tail end of Tom Baker's years and everything. And so it's interesting hearing your thoughts on that as well.
There's another Blu-ray set coming out in January.
Yeah.
I forget what season it is, but yeah, we're trying to watch them all, and it's a lot of fun.
Good stuff. Yeah.
If somebody wanted to follow you, and I guess follow the Daily Zoo, what's the best way to do that?
I have a website. It's chrisayersdesign.com, or you can Google the Daily Zoo. That's where I'm. That's the tried and true place. I have a Facebook account. I don't post regularly, I just signed up for Instagram, so maybe in the coming weeks, months, I'm going to try that out. I'm just not very good at social media and kind of too busy in
I
a lot of
understand.
ways. I know I should do it. I know I should.
Okay.
All right,
What? You have
That's
another
it.
question?
so if you're watching this on YouTube later and you like this, leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more, and leave a comment below if you are familiar with the daily. If you're looking for a silent fidget toy, use our affiliate code Marty and Eli to save 10% off your purchase at getono.com.
All right. So thanks very much for being on the show. We really appreciate you taking the time. And you've got a wife and kids, so we appreciate you taking the time out to be on the show. Hope to see you at the next Comic-Con.
Absolutely.
soon.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. Thank you very much. And again, sorry for the technical difficulties.
Yeah.
That's fine. Don't worry. So until next time, I'm David Hankins,
I'm Paul Hankins. I'm Trevor Hankins.
and you've been on the air with Power Squared.